So I'd like to begin with our first Freedom from Fear Award winner, Xiomara Blanco, who you've all read about, and she's joined here by her translator, Ivan, and her compatriot, Marty Rosenbluth, of the North Carolina Center for Immigrant Rights. And I want to start by just setting this context that North Carolina, though we may have an image in popular culture that North Carolina is part of the, quote, New South, part of the more enlightened South, that in point of fact, it's actually been ground zero for some of the most draconian efforts around enforcement and some of the most punitive approaches to immigration, so-called reform, whether it's 287G or secure communities. North Carolina, as both Marty and Xiomara can attest, has been a true hot zone. Well, Xiomara was, in 2009, 23 years old, had been in the United States for 4 years, had made a life for herself that was stable and had promise. When, Xiomara, you came to meet somebody online through a social networking site, somebody named Bedri Kula. And I'm wondering if you can describe for us, after you connected with this person, Bedri Kula, what happened next?
Lo conocí por la internet y comencé a hablar con él, me ofreció su amistad y después de eso, de mandarme mensajes, acepté tomar un café con él.
And after exchanging some messages, I accepted going for coffee with him.
Entonces, en ese momento, cuando estábamos en el café, él dijo que trabajaba para inmigración.
And then at that moment, when we were at the coffee shop, he mentioned that he worked for immigration.
Recuerdo que fue un momento bastante sorprendente para mí porque no pensé que pasaría eso.
I recall it was a very surprising moment for me because I didn't think that was going to happen.
Y él mostró su placa que decía ICE.
And he showed his plaque that said ICE.
Me dijo que no me sorprendiera, que iba a ser un secreto entre él y yo.
He told me not to be surprised, that was going to be a secret between he and I.
Que era una persona inteligente y que sabía qué hacer.
That he was an intelligent person and he knew what to do.
Después de eso, él me buscó en mi trabajo, no sé cómo, me llevó flores y me hizo una invitación a salir.
After that, he went to my workplace. I don't know how he found it, brought me flowers and invited me to go out.
Recuerdo que...
They're friends with our kids. They pledge allegiance to our...
I think we need one more moment to get out of our system with another big cheer.
Yeah.
And I think we can only guess what was actually going on there in the Rose Garden, but I think we can draw a bit of example there from the president about a combination of compassion and determination on pushing this argument, making this issue real. And, you know, one thing the president, I'm sure he and his staff wish they had was an opportunity to be here. Because, quite frankly, that was a good statement of principles. But at the end of the day, this is about human story. This is about real people and their lives, not the abstract veteran or the abstract rancher or farmer. This is about people like the people we've got here on stage, the people who stood up a little while ago when Pramila asked for them to stand and be recognized. And so we're going to continue now in this conversation about story. Xiomara, you were describing the ways in which you had gotten entangled with Bedri Kula, and he was now coming to your workplace, beginning perhaps to harass you, flashing his ICE badge or credentials in a way that seemed perhaps intimidating. What happened next then, when he came to your workplace?
Después de eso, cuando él llegó a su trabajo.
Recuerdo que me hizo una invitación a salir un domingo y pasar la noche con él.
I recall he made an invitation for me to spend the Sunday together and spend the night with him.
No le contesté y lo ignoré, pero después comenzó a mandarme mensajes donde me amenazaba.
I didn't answer to him and tried to ignore him, but then he started sending messages where he was threatening me and harassing me.
Donde decía que era una persona inteligente y que tenía que pensar en mi futuro.
Telling me that I was an intelligent person and that I had to think of my future.
Que si quería regresar a mi país o quedarme aquí en Estados Unidos y casarme con él, porque eso era lo que él me prometía en ese momento.
And that I had to choose between going back to my country or getting married to him because that's what he was proposing to me at that time.
Tenía mucho miedo porque pensé que él sabía dónde yo vivía, pensé que me estaba vigilando a cada momento.
I was very afraid because I thought that he may know where I lived, and I knew that he was stalking me at all times.
Recuerdo que pensaba que él en cualquier momento llegarían a mi trabajo alguien que yo no sabía si era de migración.
I recall thinking that all the time I was expecting someone to come to my workplace, someone from immigration.
And on top of the anxiety of that kind of intimidation and threat was the fact that you were also sick at the time and dealing with some health challenges as well. And I know that it was in the course of getting care at Duke Hospital that you took the first, perhaps courageous step of actually letting somebody know that you were in this very awful, stressful, very threatening situation. And you, at that point, connected with a social worker who I then believe introduced you or connected you to Marty.
Fue un momento muy difícil porque, como lo dice, tenía problemas de salud, pero fue cuando tomé una decisión y pensé que no podía dejar que nadie violara mis derechos.
It was a very difficult moment because, as I said, he said, I was going through these health problems, but I thought that I didn't have to let anyone violate my rights.
También pensé que cuando me vine de mi país venía buscando un futuro mejor.
I also thought that when I came from my country, I came here looking for a better future.
Dejando atrás pasados que dolían y que había jurado que nunca nadie más iba a hacer conmigo lo que quisieran ni tomarme a la fuerza.
Leaving behind a very hurtful past, thinking that here I wasn't going to let anybody do that to me again and take me in any way by force.
Y fue en este momento cuando tomé la decisión de hablar por primera vez en el hospital con alguien de lo que me pasaba.
So this was the first time that I made the decision to talk with someone at the hospital and tell them what was happening to me.
En ese momento pensé que lo mejor era que regresara a mi país, pero no ser víctima de una persona que estaba en ese momento pensando que por su trabajo él podía hacer conmigo lo que quisiera.
At that moment, I thought that probably the best thing to do was to go back to my country because I was threatened by this person that thought that he could do to his job, he could do anything he wanted with me.